Oh yeah, I'm so excited to release my new EP. I've spent so much time on it, and so much money, and I've really put my heart and soul into it. Now I'll just post it to YouTube, and then everybody will see it. And post! Did I hear someone release an EP? Oh, hello, Mr. Business Person. What are you doing here? What do you mean, what am I doing here? I own this house. You just rent a room. Besides, you haven't paid your rent in 2 months. What's up with that? Yeah, about that. I've been a bit short on cash lately, but I am in the process of releasing my brand new, awesome EP. And I tell you, it's gonna spread like a wildfire through the Californian suburb. Too soon? Maybe a little, but hey, that sounds interesting. What's your business strategy? Oh, it's simple. Word of mouth. You see, I have 500 friends on Facebook. That means that when I share my music on my Facebook page, 500 people will listen to it. And, at least like 100 of them is going to share it with their friends. And if each of my friends have 500 friends themselves, that's a lot of exposure. Plus, since my music is just so great, people will automatically find it on Facebook and YouTube, and people will automatically share it, and I'll just snowball my way to the top. I hate to break it to you, but that's not really how word of mouth works in practice. Plus, social media algorithms play a huge role in your little strategy. Also, just because your music is good doesn't mean anybody's gonna find it if you don't promote it actively. Oh yeah, but everybody who works in the music industry keeps telling that writing good music is all it takes. Yeah, but if these people told everybody exactly how to make it in the music industry, the bands would be able to do everything themselves and they wouldn't need record labels and promoters. Oh shit, you're right. But hey, I do have a plan. I'll just use that word of mouth thing, where people will just promote my music for me, and I don't have to do anything myself. Trust me, you're gonna need so much more than that. So you're saying that word of mouth is completely useless? No, not at all. There are just a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. Can you teach me? Of course I can. Welcome to Why Your Band Fails, the show where I use my curriculum from Copenhagen Business School to hopefully give some advice for aspiring upcoming artists. In this lesson I'll be talking about how information spreads through a crowd, as well as what you can do to accelerate this process. The term word of mouth gets thrown around a lot when you ask upcoming bands on how they think people will discover their music. The idea is that if your music is just downright amazing, people will be so eager to share it with everybody that you don't have to do any sort of promotion yourself. And also that if your music is good enough, people will automatically come and find it. This is, of course, based on the popular idea that if your music is good enough, people will eventually find it themselves. Unfortunately, this assumption is just plain wrong. I mean, you can make the best music in the world, but if you're not lucky or if you don't promote your music well enough, no one's going to hear it, no matter how great it is. Pretty much every band think they make great music, and they always get so astonished when they publish something and no one listens to it. Now, does this mean that you should completely ignore word of mouth? Absolutely not. However, I think it's important to think about word of mouth as sort of a byproduct of promotion and marketing instead of a promotional strategy in and of itself. People like talking about music and people love sharing things with each other, but I think it's important to realize that we live in a society where we're just bombarded with information left and right, and no matter how good your music is, it might easily get just completely drowned in bullshit BuzzFeed articles. Plus, a lot of people are very hesitant to share things on their social media pages because people nowadays are super aware of what they post. And a lot of people will be afraid that them posting your music will not get enough likes or retweets or whatever, and that might stop them from sharing it. There are even some people who will delete posts from their social media pages if they don't get enough likes. That's how bad this is. Besides, simply sharing a link to your music will accomplish absolutely nothing. I mean, look at this post, for example. If you didn't know that that band makes great music, there is no incentive to go out of your way and click the link. However, if someone shares your music like this, it gets much more interesting, especially for people who are unfamiliar with your band. People like sharing things with each other and people like discovering new things, but there's a much greater chance that people will check out something new if someone they know or look up to has already said something positive about it. And that's exactly what this next part is all about. Now, if you're a strategically minded individual, you might be sitting out there thinking, I wonder if there's a way to actively stimulate word of mouth. How can I increase the chances that people want to talk about my band? And is there a way to accelerate this process? And wouldn't you know it, there's a model just for that. Introducing Roger's theory of the diffusion of innovations. Such a catchy name. Alright, here's the deal. Roger splits the public into 5 categories. There are the innovators, the early adopters, early majority, late majority, and the laggards. The theory states that a new product, like your band, must be accepted by the innovators before the early adopters will accept it. Moreover, your band must be accepted by the early adopters before the early majority will accept it, and so on. Innovators make up 2.5% of the public, and they are the first people to adopt new ideas and start using new products. These were the first people to buy smartphones and plasma TVs when they first came out. And they are the people who actively seek out upcoming bands to discover new music. But how do you find innovators in the music industry? I'll talk about that in just a second when I'm done explaining the other types of people. Early adopters make up 13.5% of the public, and these people are also interested in new and unknown things, but they usually need someone else to have approved of this new concept and to share their opinion. Innovators and early adopters are what you'd call influencers, since these are the kinds of people who ultimately shape the public's opinion. Now, the early majority is the beginning of the mainstream market, and they make up 34% of the total market. This group won't start listening to a completely unknown band unless they already have somewhat of a fan base. The late majority is the next 34%, and these people are more skeptical towards new ideas and more experimental music genres. And the final 16% of the public are laggards, and these are the last possible people to start adopting a new idea. Trying to promote directly to the laggards is kinda like playing black metal or dubstep at a retirement home. It might be fun at first, but it's not very useful and you might get arrested. So here's the thing, if you want to be able to rely mainly on word of mouth as your primary means of promotion, you'll need around 15 to 18% market penetration. This means that only if around 18% of the potential market actively seeks out your music, you can rely on word of mouth. Now, this is not going to happen unless you happen to play in AC/DC or Metallica. I mean, if those guys posted on their Facebook page, hey, here's a new album, the word would spread fine by itself. But if you're a small or medium-sized band with only a few thousand followers, you really need to do some serious marketing. Alright, so how do we actually use this model? If you want to kickstart the word of mouth process and get people to talk about your band, you've got to identify the innovators and the early adopters of your kind of music. So, who are these people? Well, it depends on what style of music you play, but it could be anything from online magazines, blogs, podcasts, YouTubers, Spotify playlists, local newspapers and radio stations. If you're a small band, start contacting smaller radio stations, smaller music blogs and other types of online media, and you might get an article written about you or an interview, and that's a start. Remember, these types of media, the magazines, bloggers and whatever, these are the kinds of people who actively look for new bands. They are the innovators, and their audiences are the early adopters. If you want to create buzz about your band, you should try reaching out to some of these people who already have an established audience. An audience that is eager to discover new music. Music like yours. The more media that are already giving you exposure, the easier it will be to gain exposure from other media, and as a result, people will be more inclined to check out your music. For example, if you've already been featured in an online magazine, an established Spotify playlist, 2 blogs and a music-related YouTube channel, like this one for example, it'll be much easier for you to gain even more exposure from other types of media, like more online magazines or maybe even a local radio station. Getting the attention of the innovators will greatly increase your chances with the early adopters, which will then increase your chances with the early majority, and so on. Obviously not every magazine and radio station will be interested in your band right from the get-go, but there are a lot of things you can do to increase your chances of getting exposure from these sources, but I'll talk more about that in a different video. So anyway, I hope you find this video interesting or useful. I'm thinking about doing more of these kind of music business related videos, and if you're interested, leave a comment and a like to, well, let me know that you're interested. There are a lot of really good underground bands that don't get nearly the attention that they deserve, and I genuinely want smaller bands to succeed. And once again, I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope it was useful for you, and yeah, stay tuned.